Okay, let's jump right into this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've got a very specific piece of source material today. It's an excerpt, sometimes called Putin's Lament.
Right, I've seen that description.
And our mission here, it's pretty straightforward. Just unpack the key insights, the reported feelings within this specific text,
Mm.
about the conflict, Ukraine's
Oh,
actions.
not a wide analysis, just what this one source actually says.
Exactly. And for you listening, getting a handle on viewpoints like the one reported here, well, it's a good way to stay informed. Let's see what this lament reportedly says.
Okay, well, the first thing that really jumps out from this excerpt is the emotional state it reports right at the beginning.
Which is?
The source states, pretty directly actually, that Putin is reported to be very offended by Ukraine.
Very offended.
Yeah, and it's presented not just, politically,
hmm
but as a significant personal feeling in the text.
That is a strong term, reportedly used right there in the source. And does the text give reasons? What does this lament point to as the cause?
It does. The source seems to attribute it to, well, a couple of main factors.
Okay.
First, it reportedly comes from this perception that Ukraine is completely impossible to defeat.
Impossible to defeat.
Right. The lament apparently goes on saying Ukraine is not only not ready for capitulation, so this refusal, this lack of surrender, is presented as a direct trigger.
So the very act of resisting, just not being willing to give in, that's cited in the source as a core reason for the reported offense. What's the other factor?
The second thing the source mentions is about military actions.
Ah.
The lament reportedly says the feeling is worse because Ukraine is also destroying strategic aviation in my rear.
Okay, specific actions.
Yeah, presented in the source as another, significant blow. It contributes to this reported inability to win and, well, the resulting feeling of offense.
Right. Okay. So linking the reported offense to both the refusal to back down and these reported successful strikes. Got it. Now, this lament, it also includes a direct appeal, doesn't it? What does the source say about that?
It does, yeah. The source reports an appeal is made to someone it identifies just as Donald.
Donald.
And the quote attributed in the text is something like asking this person to, well, tell them, which seems to mean Ukraine.
Well, tell them. And what's the message behind that reported request? What's the plea?
Well, the source reportedly frames this plea by asserting a certain status first.
Okay.
It says something like, we are, after all, a superpower, just like the USA.
Right. Asserting parity.
Exactly. But then, what's really interesting is the reported feeling right after that assertion. The source claims there's this feeling that they're mocking us.
No. So it connects the superpower status claim directly with a feeling of being mocked by Ukraine, according to the source.
Precisely. So this lament reportedly ties together this assertion of power, the comparison to the U.S., and then this feeling of, well, being ridiculed.
That's a fascinating reported dynamic from this specific text. Highlights a distinct emotional layer presented in the source.
It really does. It gives us a reported glimpse, according to this source anyway, into a particular mindset.
All right, let's quickly recap what we've pulled out just from this source for you. We focused only on this excerpt, the one described as Putin's lament.
Mm-hmm.
And we zeroed in on those core reported insights. The stated feeling of being very offended.
Right.
The reasons cited in the source for that, Ukraine's reported refusal to give up, its actions against strategic aviation.
The appeal to Donald.
Yep, the reported appeal to Donald, and that assertion of superpower status followed right away by the reported feeling of being mocked.
And look, it's really important to stress again, this whole chat stayed strictly within the lines of this one source excerpt. We're just trying to convey the ideas and reported feelings in this lament itself.
Absolutely. Understanding these different reported viewpoints, the emotional states captured in sources like this one, it's just super valuable for grasping the complexity,
Yeah.
Even with charged content, our goal is just to understand what the source reports.
Which kind of leads us to a final thought for you to consider. Based only on what's reported in this specific lament we discussed.
Okay.
What might this particular source suggest about let's say, the psychological dimension that's reportedly part of the conflict dynamics it describes? Something to think about.